famous Jerry. He's not available today, but I'm going to do the Facebook Live, and I have a very cool topic that I've been thinking a lot about. This is called don'ts, things not to do. And what I'm going to talk about are things not to do when you're preparing to come to Rythmia and enjoy our full program and get the most out of the experience. So, just to kind of bring you guys up to speed really quick, Rythmia is a medically licensed wellness retreat that specializes in plant medicine and breath work and other modalities that are very productive and helpful to help you merge back with who you truly are and get the healing you need. And what we say is that when people see who they've become, through their life because they've been dissociated and they're showing the world something that they're not, that isn't really authentically them. And then when they see that they've been doing this and they see what they've created that's really not themselves, and then they go and heal that and connect with their soul and connect back. And as we say in psychology and psychiatry, like you merge and you're no longer dissociated. And then through that process comes a healing of the unprocessed trauma and other issues that you've never really dealt with, usually since childhood. And so we call that getting your miracle. And so people will come to Rhythmia for 1 week and they'll go through our program and then they'll have this happen. So there's some couple things that you need to not do if you want this to happen the most effective way. So one thing to not do is do not continue to live in denial. Now, all of us are very busy. We're in the rat race. We're working. We're providing for our families. A lot of us, we're trying to make ends meet. We're trying to pay the bills, all this kind of stuff. And however, there's something underneath it all that is driving our discontent. There are a lot of things happening for us that are causing us to be unhappy, and we're not achieving the level of success that we really want to. So my recommendation is do not live in denial. Look at what you're facing, even if you're not sure what it is. Realize that you're not maximizing your full potential if you feel that you're not, and realize that you need to get some level of healing. And there's a way to, there's all these different ways to do it. Now, I learned when I was studying for my doctorate in psychology, I learned all the therapeutic tools that exist. I also learned the medication tools that exist. I also learned the inpatient sort of psychiatric tools that worked. I learned all these different ways. The only problem with those ways is that they take a very long time. They can take years, if not an entire lifetime, to resolve. So what I love about Rythmia is it's very fast and efficient, and it gets you on the right track. It kickstarts a huge level of momentum for you to get the healing you need. So the next one to not do is do not use resistance techniques. Now, we've all been there before. Now, resistance is just like, oh, I don't have time, or resistance is, oh, well, that's their fault, or resistance is, well, I'm not really going to look at myself, or I'm going to focus on other people, or I'm going to get involved in gossip, or I call it avoidance through uproar. I'm going to avoid my own life by causing all these fires all around. I'm not really going to look at myself. So avoid the resistance techniques that we've all developed and used over time to block going to areas that are uncomfortable. Because make no mistake about it, like getting healing it's work, and it takes some initiative, and it can be uncomfortable, and that's okay, because that's just part of what life's about, right? Like, we all know you guys can get through a hard day at work, and that's uncomfortable, but you guys get through it. You guys can get through, how to take care of your family, or how to take care of yourself with go to the gym. Exercise is not easy. That's hard, but you guys have learned how to push through it, right? So this is the same sort of thing. You have to accept the fact that there's some healing that you need to do, and the resistance is there just because it's hard, and you're trying to maybe postpone it. But my advice is do not use resistance techniques to block the healing that you want to achieve. So the next one is, once you get to Rythmia, you're there, you're prepared, you're a little nervous, you're hesitant, all normal stuff, because there's a lot that's going to happen. Do not try to control the process. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, there's ways to, safely feel like you're in control, and that's good because that's healthy. But if I feel like, this is going a road where I'm uncomfortable and I feel a little nervous or scared a bit, that's okay, because there's subconscious processes that are leading our lives and guiding ourselves in certain aspects. And so in order to uncover what those subconscious processes are, usually from childhood that are manifesting in adult life, we need to have the strength and the ability to just kind of surrender and let the process unfold and happen. And trying to control it just makes it worse. And so there's never going to be anything that the medicine, the ayahuasca we use, or the breath work, or the other techniques that we have, none of that's going to show you something that you can't deal with. You're going to be able to deal with whatever it presents to you. And so it's important that you remember that. And if you have the tendency to, like, I always control things, okay, good, that's all right. That's because that's a fear-based tactic. So everybody that needs to control everything is really living in fear. So why are you living in fear? Well, I don't know what's coming next. Okay, well, why do you need to know what's coming next? Well, when I was 5 years old, if I didn't know what was coming next, it usually meant something really scary or sort of abusive. Okay, well, you're not 5 anymore. Okay, you're an adult now. And now you can handle what's coming next. And you don't need to know what's coming next, because it's not going to be a slap across the head, right? It's not going to be putting you in a dark room alone to go to bed at age 4 or 5. That's not going to happen. Okay, so the unknown is going to be something you can handle. So the fear starts to kind of subside, and then the control over those issues starts to fade. And that's how you kind of can rationalize it a little bit to get past it. Do not blame others. This is a common thing, pointing the finger at everybody else. In society, this is happening a lot, always has happened a lot. If you don't want to look at yourself, it's really easy to blame somebody else. Oh, this is happening to me. This is, they've done this to me, and, all this kind of stuff. Well, it might be true. Someone might have done something to you. It's possible, right? We all have suffered different levels of abuse or maybe victimization. However, but dwelling on the fact that that happened to you is not going to fix it. So don't blame others. Let's just get right down to it. Let's do the work. Let's get past it. Let's get you connected to yourself and get yourself healed, and let's move forward. Okay, so don't blame other people for where you're at. Even if they might have had a hand in it, they're not going to help you get out of it, are they? Okay, so it's about you getting out of it. So it's your work. It's your unique individual process. Do not minimize the experiences that are happening to you at the program. So at Rythmia, there's gonna be a lot happening. You're gonna see, like, why you've become who you are. You're gonna see, like, what it requires to get the healing. You're gonna see where you're supposed to go with your career. You're gonna see how you're supposed to handle your current relationships, all these different things. And don't minimize what you're being shown. Don't minimize what you're realizing. Don't chalk it up to, oh, that was just luck, or that was just something that it was not, that was just all in my head. Okay, so that's not the issue. Now, when I was studying psychology, I was a psychodynamic oriented therapist, and what I learned is that everything that happens to us is relevant and clinically significant, especially in a setting where you're working on yourself. So a clinical setting, which is what Rythmia is. We're a clinical setting. Everything that's happening is clinically significant. It's a parallel process. What's going on at Rythmia is going on in your life outside. If you're feeling scared and overwhelmed, you probably feel scared and overwhelmed at home. If you feel blocked and unable to access different areas of your life at Rythmia, you probably feel that way at home. If you feel left out, if you feel that you're being ignored by other guests, that's likely how you feel at home. Okay, so do not minimize what's happening for you in the program, because it's oftentimes, almost always, relevant to what you're dealing with on the outside. And what great opportunity that is. What an amazing opportunity to be like, wow, like, this is surfacing even here. I don't feel heard. I feel that nobody's helping me. Well, let's look at that. That's how you've been feeling since you were 10 years old. You feel like you're on your own. Okay, so let's heal that now. Okay, so that surfaces. How beautiful, right? I love it when that happens. The parallel process to me is a huge deal, and things that surface in a ceremony with ayahuasca, or on the property with talking to other guests, or in the workshop classes. We had Cesar Milan there last week. Cesar Milan is the dog whisperer. He's on our board of directors. He was an amazing guy, and he has this amazing protocol to help you move past your fears and achieve the most in your life. And so he's an amazing person, and we're lucky to know him. And he's a very helpful guy, and he explains this in a very clear, concise manner. So The next one to not do in your healing is do not go back to old patterns. Now, we all have coping mechanisms. We all have things we've used to get by. Some of those things are good, but a lot of them are not. Coping mechanisms that come to mind that are negative are drugs and alcohol, and lying, and avoiding responsibility. Those are all coping mechanisms that we've used in the past to not feel and to not incorporate new parts of ourselves that could be, as we have a new tool, we have to practice using it, and maybe we're not so good at using it at first, and so we tend to want to just throw it away and regress back to old habits and old coping tools. I would recommend that you avoid that tendency and try to have confidence in yourself that the new tools you're being given and the new clarity you're being given, you have to start to practice it and use it in your life. And so do not go back to old patterns and old coping mechanisms. Now, why? For example, I used to run a rehab in Malibu, California. I ran it for about 8 years. And so what was the number one concern when people discharged from the rehab? And they felt great. They were so happy and excited, and they were sober, and they had all these new goals and all this kind of stuff. And what was the biggest concern for everybody? That they would relapse. Why would there be a concern of relapse if all the patients leaving the rehab felt amazing and felt great and were happy they were sober? Well, because as they go out into life, they face challenges that they have new tools to use, such as being patient or being assertive or setting boundaries or avoiding problematic relationships that are not serving them any longer, or doing things to boost self-esteem. And so as those opportunities arise, the people either get overwhelmed, they forget, or they just can say, you know what, I can just go by the liquor store and fix this problem right now in 15 minutes, right? So so that was the number one concern having people come out of a rehab, was we don't want them to fall back into old patterns. So use the new tools you're being given. Don't go back to the old ways, the old coping styles. Develop new ones. And that's what we're good at teaching you at Rythmia. We teach you all the new coping tools you can use to be successful in your life. And the last one I have is do not forget the breakthroughs that you had. Everybody at Rythmia that comes through there has these amazing breakthroughs. I see why I'm this way. I see what I've been using as tools to avoid. I see now what I need to do. The path is really clear. I see how I need to improve my marriage. I know what I need to do. I see how I can improve relationship with my kids. I know how to be a better boss. I can be a better employee. I can be more successful in my life. I can be happier. They have all these tools. So do not forget about the breakthroughs that you've had. So these are a couple pointers. There's going to be more topics like this coming up soon in the Facebook Lives. Thanks for watching. I just want to remind you guys that Rythmia is an amazing place that is medically licensed by the Costa Rican Ministry of Health. We have an amazing staff who have dedicated their lives to helping provide a supportive environment for you, where you can do the work, you can be vulnerable in healthy ways and go deep and get past whatever it is that's holding you back from being successful and being who you are. Thanks for watching, you guys. Pura vida. I'm glad I got to talk to you and take over for Jerry for today. Hope all is well. See you next week.